Alright, so I wanted to make a video and show you guys how you can basically see on your Windows machine in several different ways if you've been compromised. Like if your computer's been hacked. Um, there's ways to tell. And the way that you can tell, right? I'm sure you've seen a bunch of videos and people trying to show you how you can see if you've been hacked or compromised or whatever, but um, I guarantee you haven't seen these methods because this is coming from a security pen tester's perspective, from Kali Linux perspective, right? Um, and there's a lot more that you can do um, because you can see kind of from the inside of what's happening, right? So I wanted to kind of go through the process from like literally from the attacker, from the hacker, um, and show you guys what that looks like, right? So how do we know what to look for in a Windows machine? Um, there's so many different things, but these ones, um, this is how you can tell, right? Because look, if I create a file and I get a reverse shell on a Windows machine, and then I go back into processes um, in Task Manager, you can now see new processes that you didn't see before I executed this virus or this Trojan or this payload. Um, so through my experience of creating payloads and creating files that run on Windows and Mac and stuff like that, that give reverse shells that are meant to hack and take over a machine. Um, I get to see it from the inside perspective, and I know what is being used and utilized, so I can look in processes in Task Manager on Windows, and now you can identify these processes that don't belong there. So anyways, I wanted to show you from the beginning. I'm going to make a file. We're going to run it on a Windows machine, and then I'm going to check processes to see what new processes are showing. And what those processes are is actual reverse shells, reverse connections remotely connected to your machine now, which would indicate that you've been compromised. This is just one way. I'm going to show you like, probably 7 different ways of how you can check to see if your Windows machine is compromised. So, but I'm going to show you in real life making a malicious file that would hack somebody's Windows machine or gain a reverse shell on their machine. Right from the creation of the payload, that's what it's called payload. So I'm going to be naming it hacked.exe, right? And it's a Windows interpreter reverse TCP shell. That's what it is. And then, so I'm not going to get into too much details. I just kind of want to show the basics. But right now, I have to get my local IP address, which is right here. And no, this is not the IP address that you have to hide. There's two different kinds of IP addresses. There's a local IP address and there's a public IP address. Now, the IP address that you have to hide and that I have to hide is the public IP address. So on your network, devices have IP addresses, but they're local IP addresses. They start with 192, usually. When it comes to your public IP address, that's the one you gotta hide. That's the one that somebody could hack. Nobody can hack you from or locate you or do anything with this IP address right here. It just won't return any information because it's a local IP address that only exists on your network. It can't be connected to or engaged with outside of your network. But your public IP address can, and your identity can be revealed with your IP address, with your public IP address, and you could be compromised if an attacker gets that IP address. So now that you know that, what I got to do is set a port and set it up with my local IP address for the reverse connection to come back to my machine from the Windows machine. So right now it's going to create that payload, and then we have to create a handler or a listener to listen for the connection when this payload or this file is opened on a Windows machine. Once it's opened, it'll give me a reverse shell as long as I set up the listener or the handler to wait for that connection when that person opens that file. So it's been created. Now we just have to find it, which it's right here. Put that there. And now what we have to do is set up the handler or the listener. So we're using MSF console. So I just have to open this up, and this is what I'm going to set up the handler, the listener. You can look all this stuff up on Google if you want. You can look up Metasploit and research what it is on Kali Linux. And you can look up Windows payload and interpreter reverse shell, and you can do research on your own about what I'm doing right now. You don't have to take my word for it. So use exploit. Now I have to remember how to do this. Hold on. Use multi/handler, set the payload to Windows /interpreter/reverse _TCP. Set the L host to 0.0.0.0, which just basically means my IP address, and then set the L port to 443 because that's the same port that we use to create the payload right here, L port 443. That's important. I won't get too far into that, but I'm just showing you guys what's going on. So now I'm going to run this, and it's going to listen and wait for that reverse connection when somebody opens that file on the Windows machine. And that file's right here. So now we got to get this file. We get this file onto file bin. What? That's crazy. I can't believe it. File bin has been removed. Okay, so you just need to upload that file in any way that you can. So I can do that in a couple of ways. Okay, so after all that, I finally was able to get the file that we made onto the Windows machine by using another website. So we'll just extract that file. And here we go, moment of truth. Let's run it. Run anyways. And back here we should get our shell. Yeah, we just got our reverse shell. So now you can see that this opened up and we have a reverse shell on the Windows machine. And how we can see this is sysinfo, and it'll tell us that's the name of the computer, which I named it anonymous. It is Windows 10. And what else we can do is if we type in help, it'll show you all the different attacks that you can do against the machine. Like, for example, you can activate the webcam. You can take a picture from the webcam. You can webcam stream. live. You can record from the microphone. It says record audio from the default microphone for X amount of seconds. You can list the different webcams, start a video chat. So it's pretty insane what could happen if you open certain files on your machine. Screen share, screenshot. Oh, this one is the keylogger. So you can start a key scan, which starts capturing keystrokes. So whenever somebody types anything on that Windows machine now, I'll be able to log that. So when they log in to any other accounts, you'll be able to log that. So that's the keylogger. Um, there's a lot. There's a lot that you can do. You can access anything on the machine now. You have full access. You're in. So what does that look like now? The whole purpose of this was to see how we can identify how our machine has been hacked or compromised, right? So now that we ran that, what's different in our processes? Let's see if we can see something different in our processes. When we scroll down, so now we have to find the process. Usually I would have already seen it, which is interesting. So and here's the thing, usually you can see it in processes, but in this case, if we can't, oh, here we go. We found it. Okay, so this is the shell right here. Have a good look at this because you need to remember this. This is the reverse shell that we have right here from the attacker machine. That is the file running in the background. Now it's called Apache Bench Command Line. If you see something that says that, end that task immediately. Apache Bench Command Line, whatever the rest is. Open the file location, see? And now here we go, it goes right to the exe file that we created. It's called Apache Bench Command Line Utility, Apache Software Foundation. So that's a type of reverse shell that's on your computer that's giving that attacker access. So remember, processes, look for Apache Bench Command Line Utility, and then open file location, delete the file, if it even lets you. Right now it's not going to let us do that until it's been stopped. So what we got to do is to stop this, to cut this shell off now, all we got to do is right click and hit end task. Boom. Now let's go back and now you can see, look, interpreter session 1 closed. Reason, it died. So then we hit run again and set up that handler or that listener again, and it'll be listening for a connection again, but that person would have to run that file again. And now that that you've ended it, discovered that it's no good, then you don't have to worry about it no more because look, we don't have a connection anymore, right? So the only way that the attacker would gain access again is if you ran that file again. So you delete, or now I'm sure we might be able to delete that file now. It was called hacked, right? Okay, I don't know where I put it. Okay, here it is. Open file location. Let's see if we can delete it now. Boom. Now it's deleted. and then empty the trash. Get rid of that. Now let's make sure, yeah, no more Apache. It's not there anymore. So that's one reverse shell. There's only a couple. Down here is where you'll see the PowerShell or Windows Shell or CMD command prompt. If you see those, end those tasks. First, open file location. Make sure you know what you're looking at, the file. Just kind of investigate and then end the tasks. Now, don't ever end any of these tasks that says Windows processes. If you do, you'll crash and break your computer. And if you start ending tasks in here and you don't know what they are and you just think they look suspicious, you're gonna only trick yourself and you're gonna break your computer. If you end critical tasks, it's gonna shut your computer off. It might not even turn on again. So don't do that. You have to know what you're doing. That's why this is important to learn, right? You don't want to just guess and be paranoid. Oh, I think I'm hacked or whatever, right? There's ways to determine, you know, if you have been or not. So let me continue. This is going to be kind of a long video, but you really need to know this stuff instead of just thinking and guessing and panicking and being stressed out and being paranoid all the time and thinking you can't even use devices. Knowledge is power. You just have to educate yourself. So let me show you another thing, okay? So this is really important too. This is mind-boggling. You have to know this. You have to know this. Um, there's three ways that somebody could gain remote access to your laptop, or they could already have this set up in your laptop when you purchased it. So you need to check to see if there's any open ports on your device, on your laptop. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I'm also going to show you how to block those ports so that way nobody outside, no attacker can gain remote access to your laptop, because there's only three ways that remote access is achieved. So if you block those ports, those three ports that are needed for remote desktop access and SSH access, then there's no way to remotely connect to your laptop. So I'm going to show you how to determine that. So first, you have to scan your network, your Wi-Fi network, and find your device, your laptop, and then scan the ports on it, and then see what open ports there are. And if there's port 22 open, SSH, that's bad. That's bad. We need to block that immediately. That means somebody has SSH remote access connected to your laptop, and they probably have full access to your laptop. They can see you through the camera. They can take your files off, download anything from your computer. They can upload things to your computer. They have full access to all your passwords, everything that you type. They have access. So let's take a look at that real quick. So um, first, what you would want to do is I'm going to show you two different ways, one on Windows and one on Kali Linux. So one way on Kali Linux to scan your network is to take your local IP address and run an nmap scan against it. So I'll do nmap, and then I'll do -a, and then we'll do the IP address /24, and now that's going to scan my network and show me all the different devices that are connected to my network. And then from there, we can scan now my laptop. When we find it, when we find its IP address, we can scan it, see what open ports are open on it, and there shouldn't be any open ports on any of your devices other than your router. But we'll get into that in another video. I'll make another video about that, securing your Wi-Fi network, your home network, and your router. But anyways, this scan has to do its thing. In the meantime, I'll show you on Windows an app that you can get where you can scan your network to see what devices are connected to your network, to see like, is this device supposed to be connected to my network? Um, what is the device? Does it have, is it my laptop? If it is your laptop, run a port scan against it, see what ports are open on it. So that's what we're going to do right now. So it's an app that you can get on your phone and you can get it on Windows. I think you can get it on Mac too. It's called Fing, Fing. It's right here. So I'm going to open that up and I'm going to scan my Wi-Fi network and it's going to show me all the devices connected to my network. See all devices, refresh. Now it's scanning the network. It's going to show you devices that are connected by the green dot. Blue dot means phone, means mobile. And then these other ones are offline. That's Kali, that's what I'm using. It can identify that Kali is being used on the network, which is huge. That means, you have an attacker on your network. So um, this is my laptop right here. So I'll click on that. Now you want to click on this to find open ports. And now it's scanning it. So already it's determined that I have 2 ports open that I actually previously blocked, which is strange that those are open. That could be alarming, you know. In some cases, actually, you know what? I'll have to figure this out because I do gaming, and sometimes ports like that are necessary. Plus, I do other remote things and stuff like that. But you probably might see 135, 139, and 445. If you see 22 SSH, that's the worst case scenario. That should not be set up unless you run that. So take a look at the ports 135, 445. Now go into your search in your Windows machine, type in firewall and click on that, and then go to inbound rules. And as you can see, um, I blocked port 135, 139, and 445. Right now it's saying that port 135 is open and port 445 is also open, which shouldn't be the case. But I'm going to show you how to block these 3 ports. Now, even though that the scan is showing that they're there, the traffic might still be blocked from my firewall by setting up these rules. So you still want to do this. Even after you scan, and if you still see those, even though these are blocked, it's still probably blocking the traffic. So anyway, so what you want to do is you want to go to new rule, click on that, click on port, click next, and then you want to specify the port. I recommend doing 1 port at a time instead of multiple separated by commas. So we'll just do 445 or 135 and then 139 and then 445 if you want it to be in order. But anyways, and then we'll click next and we'll say block connection and we'll hit next again. When does this rule apply? Make sure all those are selected, and then you can name this 445 so you know what it is. which port it is, port 445. And then you can just hit finish. I already did that. That's why you see those that are like this and the rest are green. See, Grand Theft Auto. Sometimes you need certain ports. So you do not want to close any other ports or else you can destroy yourself. So just make sure only these three ports are blocked by adding that rule. And that's how you do that. Now, nobody can gain remote access to your device. Now, as for outbound rules, I don't think outbound rules are necessary. I think you're just supposed to do inbound, but I'll do more research about that. And if that's the case, you would just do the exact same thing. You'd set rules to those three ports and block them for outbound rules and inbound rules. But I don't know if that's the case, so don't do that yet. I have to figure that out because that could cause problems that you don't want. So you have to be very, um, you have to really know what you're doing with this stuff. You can't just block things and end processes and you're going to break your machine. So you want to know what you're doing. So anyways, that's how you do that. And let's see what's going on over here in Cali. Let's see if it showed me anything. You know, I've been having a problem with this too, trying to do it like that. It used to work. For some reason, that did not do what I wanted it to do. So I guess until I figure out another way that you can do it is using your, it'll work if you use your public IP address, but I'm not going to show you guys my public IP address, and you shouldn't show anybody yours either. Big difference, don't forget, in between a local IP address and a public IP address. Don't forget the difference. The public one is the one you cannot reveal, you have to hide it. That can get compromised. Um, and the local IP address, you're fine. But if we use our public IP right here and did that, it would show all the devices connected to my network, and then I could scan it further to see what ports are open. You can also do this by, you can also just scan your IP address and basically, you know, see what open ports are on your network or on your router or, you know, so on and so forth. Sometimes on a router, there's SSH and other ports that are open. But anyways, um, yeah, so a couple other things that you should do. So those are the main things. Now you know, you just seen uh, a reverse shell happen in real life. You just seen a Windows machine get hacked in real life right in front of you by a real malicious file, which is a payload. You can look it up, Windows payload, Metasploit, Kali Linux, Google all this stuff, do your research. Um, Now, I want to express to you how important it is to update your Windows machine because the fact that we just got a reverse shell on this machine, I could have, if you update your Windows machine by going here, type in update, check for updates. If you do that, which you have to do this, you must do this right now immediately because it stops 90% of the attacks from actually even working. Even if somebody gets into your machine, they're going to be limited if you're fully patched and fully up to date in what they can do. But bottom line is, I'll make other videos to be able to identify files, um, so that way you don't get tricked into opening a file that's malicious on your machine. But this video is just to show you, if you've already been compromised, what type of evidence can we find to show us that, right? And hold on, I had a couple other things that I wanted to do. So if we go back to Task Manager and we go into Startup, you also want to have a look in here too. Take a look at the ones that say where it says status, where it says enabled. Have a look at what that is. If you think it's something malicious that shouldn't be enabled, this is where you're going to find something that set itself up to restart every time that you restart your computer. It gives it like persistence access, so that way it just keeps running every time that you restart your computer. It doesn't lose its connection. But sometimes you can come in here and find that malicious file, and then you can disable it. Like this was sketchy, like update from GitHub. There shouldn't be an update file from GitHub running, not to mention um, set to run every single time I start up my computer. So look in there as well and just right click and disable things that you think shouldn't be running when you start your computer up. You can't really go wrong on this one. There's not too much that you can mess up, but you got to be a little bit conscious. Use Google before you take any action. So I'm also going to add in the description of this video or in the comments a list of steps that you can also take um, to further your investigation in seeing if there's any reverse shells or if your machine's been compromised in any way. I have a list of steps that you can follow and other things that you can do or that you can look into and do some research on and further your investigation on your machine. Once you do these things, you can be pretty confident that you're not compromised. Anyways, I can make a part two to this video because there's some more things that we can do to look further. Um, if you're really paranoid, if you're really worried. But after that, to a certain extent, you have to realize that knowledge is power, and you don't have to be in fear of being hacked or compromised. You can just be educated, and you can have the knowledge to identify how these things work and how you know that you can identify them. It's not like there's just no way to identify um, this stuff. There is, because any action that's taken can be reverse engineered. It doesn't matter. So keep that in mind.